Top of the day to you on this inspirational journey. I hope all is well with you. As we go to and fro on this earth, we already know that there are struggles in our life, not only in the physical, but also in the spiritual. So I pray that you are able to stand against the evil schemes of the evil spirit versus your good spirit. I am that reporter reporting to you the way, the truth, and the life. I hope all is well with you as you went to and fro. And I pray that you was able to evolve as you equipped yourself with your spiritual armor. As you went to and fro on this earth, you were able to combat some of those uh, fiery darts that's always come to um, deflame us, and to put our light out, you know. So I pray that you were able to get W's and not L's, and that way you could see your growth. You could see that, you are leveling up. You're no longer in that same spot, and you have self evaluated where you can be able to achieve the look, the desire that you want to be in life. So we talked about the helmet of salvation, which guards against our mind, our thoughts, our decisions from discouragement and deception. Okay. And I pray that you got that solid. Then we talked about our, belt of truth. It represents our integrity. When no one is looking, what are you doing? Are you the same person? Or you only act perform in front of others? We talked about being honesty and talked about the commitment um, to God's word and his spirit. And that belt holds everything together. We live in truth and we resist the deception. We talk about the breastplate. It protects our heart, morals and integrity and obedience to, God and his word. It guards against the spiritual attacks. Not all the time we have physical attacks, more is more of the spiritual attacks. And it maintains our inner peace. We talked about the shoes of, that we guard ourselves with peace. It's sturdy footwear that we're supposed to have as we go to and fro on this earth. Or do you have a peace about yourself? Or are you rambunctious? Are you irritated all the time? Then you want to spread that type of, you know, seed on others. So we're going to share the word and maintain this stability in our faith uh, as life begin to challenge us. So as we go through that, we almost finish with equipping ourselves and learning how to dress as we go to and fro on this earth, and how to protect ourselves with a spiritual armor. We know how to put our physical clothes on, but what about our spiritual clothes? Because we need both. All right. So we're going to talk about the shield of faith. It's so crazy that we talk about faith because we never know that we actually are using faith all the time. Whether you're a believer or a non-believer, you use some type of faith. Naturally, if you sit down on the seat, you have faith that this seat is going to hold you, but you never think of it as that. Okay. So our shield of faith helps us with our doubt, fears, our accusations, our temptations. Those are that's that shield we have, the faith to combat some of those fiery darts. Faith is an action. It about trust. It's not a passive belief. Our faith, when negative thoughts hit, we respond with what we know to be truth about God, truth about ourselves, truth of what we believe. That's what our faith is. When negative thoughts comes to and fro on us, that's where we stand. That's where our faith or our shield would, protect us, give us, protection of guard against the different things. We call them fiery darts in the word that would come against us. Sometimes we're, when we being attacked or things being said against us, we would come off as getting angry or getting upset. When stuff come up against us, those are a type of defense mechanism in the physical, not necessarily in the spiritual. In the spiritual, we would have to learn how to react in a different way. I mean, I'm not gonna lie to you. I took that L a couple of times when it came to walking in my peace. So I know that is gonna come back up again because I totally failed when I was supposed to, walk in my peace, and I had it already in my mind. But this is practice. This is a practice. We already know now that I failed. I know when it comes back up again, hopefully I won't fail again. I'll get that W and not that L. So in life, if you experience that and you don't achieve, just get up, dust yourself off, and let's start back over again. All right. So let's learn how to hold up our shield as part of our, uniform, as part of our equipment. When we're not fighting in the flesh, we're not fighting blood, which is our relatives. So this is what we do whenever we're fighting in the spiritual. Sometimes in the spiritual, we're not fighting against flesh and blood. Majority of the time, we look at the person, but what we need to look at is their spirit. It's a spirit that's in them, whether we kin to them or whether we not, to make them act and do the things that they do. But we don't want to recognize that. We don't want to put that on Front Street, that it's that spirit in that person. You got a bad spirit, or you have a good spirit, or you have both of them. Now, which one gonna rule you? So that's why you act confused, you're agitated with, life and what's what. But it's up to you. You need to look within, evaluate yourself, and then equip yourself. And this armor is part of the equipment, that you should need to equip yourself with in order for to help yourself go forth as you travel to and fro. It is this earth, this world is designed since the fall in order to make us fall. We are not to reach, that glory that we just everyone so desires that, but not all the time that we want to follow the way, the truth, and life in order to achieve that. Our ancestors and us too had that choice, but we don't want to really follow the God way. We want to achieve it, in the earth way, in the flesh way, because we want to have dominion. We want to have glory, earthly glory. We don't want to see that the glory that we're receiving by following this way was only in the spiritual, eternal. Sometimes we don't want to follow that way because we want everybody to see us shine. We want to get all earthly particular, glory, residuals. We want to see all this gold and glamour and want everybody to look at us, and we want to have dominion over everybody. And that's the world's way, but this is not the spiritual way. This is not how it was all designed. And so that's why a lot of our ancestors fail at this point. And that's the reason why we're handed or inherited these particular ways that we consider as norm, even though some of it is the wrong way. And it's crazy that, we have been blind, or we have been, hoodwinked, we've been hypnotized, to a point that we don't see in a clear view. Okay. Our glasses are very, dim, that we look through, a rose colored, as the scripture says. So we're not fighting against flesh and blood, but spiritual forces, meaning the real battles are eternal emotions, morals. The spiritual is not physical. And we have to learn how to stand firm and learn how to raise our shield, because actually not all of us are taught that way. We just only taught to survive. We're not taught actually to learn how to use our spiritual armor. That's not the first thing that we're taught. Because a lot of times when we do inherit and we do start developing these spiritual powers according to our ancestors, the world would try to put that light, that shine out, because the world want to show you a version or a way of shine, and that's the only way. But actually, that's not. But a lot of our ancestors chose that way. As you go back and try to dig in and find his our history and the way that our ancestors went, some of them didn't teach us that because they want to protect us, because they knew that the world was going to try to kill us, as they did so many others that came before us. So they tried to, teach us in a different way. And they didn't teach us righteously because they already knew what was going to happen to us according to the world's point of view. And then some of them did go this way because they didn't want to walk the way, because they didn't feel that would have gave them more glory, and they wanted the world's glory instead of the spiritual glory. Sometimes we need to learn how to soak, our shield in that holy water. So when flaming arrows would come to put us out, we'll learn how to lift it up, and it would kill those flaming darts. Sometimes, like when people say things to you and the difference how you will react, which I'm not even gonna lie to you, I had a rough time. I struggled in learning how to walk in peace, in my spirit. So I know that's gonna come up again. So when I know that it do, hopefully the Lord will bring to my, or the Spirit will bring to my remembrance, so I'll be able to have a W instead of a L. So when you do fall short, it is okay, because a lot of people fail short, but it's nothing wrong with getting up and dusting yourself off and trying again. Faith is not meant to take, faith is meant to take hits. Our faith is meant to take hits. So when people try to look at you and and talk about you about different ways and about your faith, it's meant to take hits. So we have to learn how to absorb the impact and keep you standing, but sometimes we'll get in our feelings. We become very emotional if we're not totally covered or totally taught how to handle, the different experiences that we experience. So what is a flaming dart? So the flaming dart or the flaming arrows is thoughts like you're not forgiven or you're not enough, and those are the accusations that would come, that people would, throw at us to make us feel small, because sometimes we may not see our light shine so bright, but others can see it before we do. So of course they're gonna try to, badmouth you or say things to you that's negative instead of build you up with positive. Or even if you looking good and this and that, sometimes people won't even tell you you're beautiful. Oh, I like that, you looking good. And instead they're like, oh, look at you, and try to put you on blast or shine light on you in the wrong and make you feel like, no, I don't like to be put on the spotlight, so it is like that. That's how flaming arrows are. These subtle is like subtle lies that distort your character or the God's character that's within you, your identity. Sometimes people give off some type of deception to make you feel, that your character is not good, or because you decide to follow God's way, that, they want to look down on you and say words. When people say sticks and stones may hurt, they wrong, and words will never hurt, that's a lie. It's opposite. Words do hurt. Words do hurt. And sticks and stones hurt too, but, words do hurt too. The impulses that protects us, we have to learn about the impulses that promise, that we have promise, and it quicks the satisfactions, stuff like that. Those things that are like the different flaming arrows. Sometimes it will lead us to regret whenever we have quick action, quick promises. Not all the time that, some easy and quick. We had went through an era of microwave, instant, I want it now. And those little quick decisions sometimes leads us to regret. Sometimes we always want the easy way out. We don't want to take the long way, or we don't want to do the right thing. We want to show me the quick way, show me the fast way, show me the easy way. They feel like you can navigate through, but in the long run, not all the time that those ways are good. Doubt. If you have doubt, it's about doubt about God's goodness and his presence. The world will have you thinking that God's way is not the right way, but it is the right way. It's the safe way. And then I'm not even gonna lie to you. Sometimes, and that's the reason why our ancestors, or sometimes that's the reason why we're in the situation we are now, because our ancestors saw that following God's way don't always bring you the glory that the earthly way. So sometimes we'll be, earthly good, but no heavenly bound. You know what I'm saying? So we have to learn to trust in God's character, be confident in choosing God's way over the easier way. You want to block destructive thoughts before they take root. You want to protect your heart from shame and fear. You want to stand firm instead of being pushed around by emotions or circumstances. Faith is strongest when we stand in community. So if we all agree, as a group, then that's faith and that's strength. So a community is way better than just standing one. Sometimes I used to fight, for the underdog, or the person who I feel like, can't speak up for themselves. But then sometimes I get injured or bruised battles, wounded, scars because of others. But then at the same time, if I'm fighting your battle, you won't even try to help me. It's about a community. I'm speaking up for you. You know what I'm saying? Speak up for yourself. But sometimes when you want to stand on all 10, to be the wrong 10 that you stand on. So you definitely need to self-evaluate. Faith is strongest when we stand together in community. Stay connected to others when that person strengthens your faith. Choose trust over impulse in moments of temptation. And definitely, we all find ourselves in that particular situation. So what kind of flaming arrows feel most real to you? I often see that some of my friends and some of my loved ones and people who I kin to, some of those flaming darts will come to, penetrate their armor. And we're talking about the armor of God, your helmet of salvation, what you believe, your breastplate, your belt of truth, your feet shod with peace. We're talking about that because sometimes when those arrows get in, or people words, people teasing, people telling you, to make yourself feel small. Sometimes I've seen a lot of people would commit, I'm going to use the word unalive themselves, because I don't know whether I'm going to get flagged for using, the sewer word, on the side, get it? So some people will unalive themselves because they cannot handle the pressure of the world, saying negative, what we would call bullies. There's a lot of bullies, but at sometimes those bullies, what we don't know or understand, that person got bullied. Or someone, constantly told them they'll mount up to nothing. You ain't no good. You just like your mama. You just like your daddy. And it made them so they go around and try to bully other people to make themselves look and feel great. And next thing you know, they didn't know that, you too was the same as them, and you can't handle that pressure. And then next thing you know, you taking yourself off this earth. You unaliving yourself, and, it impacts not only your family, but it impacts in the community, because those people are so beautiful, even though they may not stand strong, like a bully would, but now we're without that person, that link in our chain in our community has been broken. So you got to be mindful about the things that you say to others, things that you do for yourself. So you have to learn how to deflect some of those spiritual attacks like doubt, fear, and temptation. So this is all about that shield, that shield of faith, So you got to understand and walk in faith, believe in yourself. Anytime that you like, I know I can. Thomas the Train, you know what I'm saying? Sometimes, you tell yourself, oh, I can't do that, I can't do that. But then sometimes you can build yourself up like, I could do this, I could do this, and then you did, and you, what? What? Like a rocket, you overcame. So blessings unto you. I hope all is well as you go to and fro on this earth. I am that reporter reporting to you the way, truth, and life. Just continue to keep on subscribing and liking this channel, that we always would be here to give you a word or two. We're here every Monday at 6 o'clock. So what happened to Monday? It's the word. Have you not heard? We are here. We're here. So please continue to come back and join us as we continue to offer you, life. This is life, the spiritual part of you. A lot of times, nothing never gets sold into our spiritual being. Everything always gets sold into our physical being, but you need both. So this is for our future selves. Hopefully one day when you figure out what is what, you'll remember that here, this word is always here for you. Always go back, rewind, go back through the inspirational journey that you may be able to, apply these things to yourself to strengthen you, to help you along your way. Well, blessings into you until we see each other again. Have a blessed day.